This is Murder in the Morning with Tony Bruschi and Stacey Cole.
Have you seen the doc yet? The Devil in the Family doc, Stacey, on Ruby Franke?
Don't hate me. I had Hulu on and I think I was just finished up Schitt's Creek for like the 19th time.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it pop up and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hit play. And I started watching it and I went, okay, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it's required reading, for my job, but my God, it's so bad.
It's cringy.
Demented.
It's cringy watching Kevin Franke. And I do have some empathy there, but I'm just
It's limited because you feel like, how did you get hoodwinked that you didn't realize what was going on?
You made a choice and you were so enthralled. There was I think there was different levels of importance in his mind, and his marriage was really, really, really unreasonably high up there to the point where you could ignore abuse because it was more important to be with Ruby Franke than protect your children.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. I mean, I do have some understanding on how he got there, like just through the years of manipulation. I mean, he was groomed to be this way throughout 8 Passengers and through before that in their relationship. I'm sure this has been a cycle of grooming from Ruby to him to have control over him, basically. I don't think it just started one day and suddenly she had this magic power. This was years going. And she did a great job because he went along with anything that she wanted. But yeah, the accountability part is the
And I don't want to lose sight of the fact that he was a victim here as well. And
I
don't
agree.
want to sound like, we're just pointing fingers at him. It's real easy to do. We're not part of this family and weren't under her spell. Because obviously she was a master manipulator. But also, I guess I feel like I want people to take accountability, especially when it's one thing to let yourself get sucked in. It's another when you are a guardian of children and you're supposed to be protecting them. It's, Lori Daybell.
Have a line. Like, there seemed to be no line that she could not cross. I mean, until he's discovering that they're being horribly abused. But it wasn't crossing a line saying you can't have contact with your own children for a year or till I tell you you can. That wasn't no, that's where you stand up and go, okay, that's insane. You are no longer, you're not this woman I'm going to look at anymore with wonder. And because she's not that person. And I think this is all my conjecture after watching it and my reaction. I mean, it feels like, he very much lives in the memories of her and the good times. And I get that, but you also have to square that up with who the person is. And sometimes when you look back on those good times, not to damage those memories, but just look at things in reality, you look back and go, oh, maybe these aren't as jolly as I thought they were.
Yeah.
Our brains have ways of, trying to lift us up, not tear us down. I mean, although they do that too quite well. But you'll remember things. It's the rose-colored glasses things where people say you remember things through rose-colored glasses because you tend to remember things more positive than negative. I mean, negative can go to the point where you don't remember it at all because it's so traumatizing, or it's back there, but it's
Well, my other question is, so your wife tells you that you cannot have access to your kids for a year. At what point do you go, okay, I'm getting an attorney?
Exactly.
We're taking this to the courts.
And
you're not going to withhold my children from me for a year.
And you have 6 kids. 6.
Yeah. So again, I'm not blaming, but I want to know why this was a thing that he allowed it. Was
Well,
he so fed up that he just needed to?
and he talks about that in the doc. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, but he said something to the effect of, if he dwells on that question, it just eats him up inside,
Understood.
and he can't do that. And I get, yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that. At some point, you got to go, I fucked up, and all I can do is go forward and realize that that was a horrible, horrible choice. But to dwell on it every single day of your life, then you can't heal, and you can't then be a person that your kids probably need you to be. So
Yeah.
I get it. It's like the public will judge, and the public, the first time they hear it, you're outraged. Yeah, he's already gone through that like a long time ago. Just because it's the first time you're hearing about it, doesn't make it, different. So, I mean, I don't know. I do have some empathy, but I still think that guy needs a lot of healing and a lot of a reality check, especially in relation to magical thinking and things of that nature. Before Ruby Franke, the infamous YouTube mom behind 8 Passengers channel, pled guilty to child abuse charges. Authorities uncovered something chilling, a handwritten journal detailing the suffering she inflicted on her own children. In it, she described acts of cruelty with a detachment that made even seasoned investigators take a step back and go, what is this? It's revealed in that new documentary on Hulu called The Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke. A police investigator reads from the journal, bringing Franke's own words out into the open. One entry is particularly disturbing. Sleep outside, shaved her head, doused her with water over his nose and mouth. That's called waterboarding.
Waterboarding.
Head in the toilet, needs to be painful. Blood on his face, scream and scream.
Again, why are you documenting this? Why are you, it's one thing to be this person who would do this to a child.
I don't get
another
that part
to
at all.
document it. You're putting it in right. It's proof. It's evidence. What are you doing?
Well, you're gonna look back. What was the recipe that night? Let's see here. We did the waterboarding, the head in the toilet. Oh, that was a nice touch. Like
we'll do surf and turf.
It's like, what? What the? Yeah. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you got access to your mom's old diaries from your own childhood, and you start reading entries like that, and you have no memory of it, but you're like, what the fuck is she talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would explain an awful lot for this family. But again, we're crossing into a line. People who do things and either use an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc, to plan out their mayhem.
Yeah.
And Rex Huerman, I'm talking to you, buddy. Just that's a weird thing to do. Like for me, I keep a notepad.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a scientific journal thing that I used to use in chemistry. I just buy them when they're on sale, back to school for like 50 cents. And I write down everything that I need to do, but I don't have in there, need to kick my cat across the room. That's not, what?
Well, it's a journal, so you're recalling past events. You're not planning it necessarily. So it's not like an instruction, like got to kick the cat across the room. It's more of a, I kicked the cat across the room.
Oh God! So now we're just, ugh.
So now it's reliving the magic. It's reliving the magic, is what it is.
Bizarre. It's one thing if you're sitting in therapy and your therapist says, I need you to go through this traumatic event, but you're the one causing the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how these magical people called narcissists work. Another entry is no less horrifying. Quote, I told the boy he emulates a snake. Like you do. If he wants to emulate the Savior, he needs to be 100% obedient with exactness.
Oh, here we go into the religion stuff now.
Yeah, we just intermingle that, and it makes it all good. It's like you put like hot fudge in a sundae, and it just kind of like, oh, this makes it much better.
Well, it's in the name of the Lord, so now it's permissible.
It's
Lori Daybell?
It is. It's like the holy water version of hot fudge. It's just, then you mix it up in there, and it's in there. And because it's been blessed, it must be good. The body must engage in good work, and the good works need to be painful. I have the power of God, and he must obey.
I don't think that's what they meant by what would Jesus do.
Let's read Mom's journal. Remember childhood? Wonder if there's anything about there to that trip to the park that one day. Remember when we brought the dogs? Wasn't that fun? Like, what the fuck is this?
God.
The body must engage in good work, and the good work needs to be painful. What the fuck, Mom? Good thing this is all coming out now, so the kids never have to have that moment later in life.
Well, they're keeping therapists employed. That's the good news. These kids are going to be in therapy for the rest of their lives.
It would be interesting, if you're to do a study on it or something, to just be like, I'll be your therapist for free. I just want to learn and understand better, what this type of person does and understand how they try to manipulate the kids too. Then you have more signs and more, front yard signs basically of saying, okay, here's some things to look out for. If you suspect a parent of kind of being this way, how are the kids reacting and what are you hearing from them in like a therapeutic session? Because there's probably not a ton of this that ever gets blown up or exposed to the level that this does.
I wouldn't think so.
But I think there's a lot of these out there. They're just like tiny. I mean, yeah.
And this is repeated and repeated and repeated. I could see parents snap. I mean, I think we've all experienced our parents just losing their shit. Whether stuff going on at work, you're going through puberty, driving your parents crazy. They just finally one day just fucking snap. It happens. But this is repeated. This is a cycle of abuse here.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
The extent of the abuse detailed in the pages is staggering. In one passage, Franke wrote about forcing her son into the sun, then returning with a cactus poker. What the hell is a cactus poker?
I need to look that up. I don't know. I don't live around.
To prod him. So something that's going to prod him. It just sounds horrible. She recorded her own twisted logic saying, quote, when I poke his back to get in the sun, he doesn't even flinch. I told him, give your demon a friend a message for me. I will not rest. I will not stop. I will not leave. I will fight him until the day you die.
So a cactus poker, to me, it almost looks like a fireplace poker.
Oh, God.
So you're using that on your kid. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Wow.
Yeah. And that's where you look at this and go, these kids would have eventually been killed.
Yeah.
And I think it would happen at some point where they didn't think they were going to kill them, where it was just some other horrible thing they're doing and their bodies just give out. But they're going to view it in the terms of how Lori Vallow Daybell viewed a lot of those things as, well, they're demons, they're zombies, they are gone already. This is just their shell. So we did the right thing and they're in a better place now. And thank goodness we were here to get rid of the demon that took over their body. That's how these people think.
Ugh.
I just did and it'll be out probably later today, a 4-part piece breaking down the logic, the religion of Chad and Lori Daybell as best as I could. We did some deep research into it and really just tried to tie it together in a way where you can step by step by step by step. That's why it's a 4-part piece. And you kind of build on the last piece to get the next piece, to understand how she thought the way she was thinking. And obviously it doesn't excuse anything, but it's a real interesting psychological dive into how these sort of things work. It's also particularly good if you want to start a cult, because it basically is instructions on how to do that.
Great.
Which I said like
the instruction manual.
Midway through, I'm like, somebody's going to use this for the wrong purpose, because it's basically step by step how to start a small cult. Anyway, that's it's on the feed. Either it's on YouTube or on, wherever you get podcasts, it will be up there, and it's fascinating. Anyway, back to these two. These ramblings, I will fight him until the day you die. These weren't the ramblings of someone suffering a temporary lapse in judgment. These were calculated, premeditated, written down as if, keeping a ledger of pain. Mm-hmm. In August of 23, it all came to an end when Franke's 12-year-old son escaped from the home she shared with her business partner and possibly lover, Jody Hildebrandt. Starving, injured, and desperate, he ran to a neighbor and pled for help. The neighbor, and you can hear it in his voice on the 911 call, literally moved to tears as he's describing this kid that just showed up at his house and his skeletal appearance. He's got tape wrapped around his arms and ankles. Soon after the 911 call, authorities discovered his 9-year-old sister inside Hildebrandt's home in an equally horrific condition. Locked in a dark closet, not speaking, and restrained. Franke and her husband, Kevin, had gained a massive following through 8 Passengers, where their brand of strict authoritarian parenting was often defended as tough love. Their content, which amassed over 2 million subscribers, frequently walked the fine line between discipline and outright cruelty. YouTube ultimately shut down the channel after Franke's arrest. Kevin Franke was not charged in connection with the abuse. Jody Hildebrandt, Franke's business partner and former therapist, only made things worse. The founder of the so-called Connections program, a religious-based self-help movement, Hildebrandt encouraged extreme parenting methods, basically preying on the vulnerabilities within the Mormon community. According to a therapist featured in the docuseries, Hildebrandt was excellent at exploiting Mormon anxiety. Her influence, combined with Franke's already dangerous beliefs, created a toxic and violent environment for the kids that were trapped in their care. Franke and Hildebrandt have pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Their sentences, ranging from 4 to 30 years, will be decided by the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole. After the sentencing, Franke broke down in tears, addressing her own children, saying, "I will never stop crying for hurting your tender souls," she said, but the damage was already done. Devil in the Family is the doc, The Fall of Ruby Franke. That is on Hulu right now, if you want to do a deep dive into that. It was done well, and it was very interesting to see the perspective of the family.
I'll try to get through it.
I was telling the audience, I've given up on you.
It's probably smart.
You see it. I don't know. We've already done the bit, so.
Yeah, right.
No, it's insane. It was really insane. And again, it does. I thought they presented Kevin well, and I think Kevin is trying to make some sort of atonement for this as he realizes the damage that was done. But this all just happened, like in the last year. I think it's going to take him years to, not because he doesn't want to, but because that's just the healing that's going to take to fully, I think, gain understanding and enough self-reflection to understand his role in this and, come to some sort of resolution in his mind to keep going forward. Because I think he's still very much in the gray, which would be expected. I couldn't see anybody being out of the gray yet, if that's your life,
No, I imagine it's going to be decades before he can actually go a few days without thinking about it.
Yeah, he probably won't go a day thinking about it, but is it going to define him forever, or, I don't know. It's a hard one to swallow. I can't imagine being Kevin Franke, but again, Devil in the Family, Hulu, check it out.
The latest true crime stories, expert breakdowns, and shocking twists, all in one place. Press subscribe now to the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today.